In 1944, the only bones of a 50-foot predator vanished in a bombing raid. They left Spinosaurus as nothing more than a rumour for 70 years, dismissed as an impossible swimmer. But when new fossils finally surfaced in the desert, they exposed a monster that hunted where even T-Rex never dared. What did science get so catastrophically wrong about history's greatest river killer? And what secrets still lurk in the void left behind? In 1912, deep in Egypt's Bahariya oasis, Ernst Stromer brushed away desert sand to reveal something no one had seen before. A jaw lined with conical teeth, vertebrae crowned with 6-foot spines, and bones hinting at a predator longer than a city bus. Stromer, a German aristocrat with a stubborn streak, recognised the find as extraordinary. He named it Spinosaurus aegyptiacus, the Egyptian spine lizard. The skeleton, though incomplete and battered by time, suggested a creature that broke the rules of what a dinosaur could be. Stromer's sketches captured a monster with a crocodile's snout and a sail towering over its back. He saw a predator unlike any other, one that haunted the riverbanks of a vanished world. But the bones themselves were fragile, their secrets locked in sandstone and plaster. Stromer knew their value and pleaded with Nazi officials to move them to safety as Allied bombs closed in on Munich. His warnings went unheeded. On the night of April 24, 1944, a British bombing raid set the Bavarian State Collection ablaze. By morning, the only known Spinosaurus skeleton had vanished, reduced to ash in the ruins of the museum basement. Stromer's grief was immediate and lasting. In letters, he called the loss a catastrophe, mourning the destruction of what he saw as irreplaceable witnesses to ancient life. For the next 70 years, Spinosaurus existed only in fading photographs and the memory of a vanished skeleton. The fossil record carried a ghost, and the world's strangest predator slipped into legend, leaving behind a mystery that would haunt science for generations. With the original bones reduced to ash, Spinosaurus became a paper giant, confined to textbook diagrams and cautious descriptions. The scientific community, left with only Stromer's sketches and fragmentary notes, filled the void with certainty. For decades, museums and books depicted Spinosaurus as a terrestrial predator, striding across dry land like its more familiar cousins. The sail was shown as a towering display, the jaws as tools for snatching fish from riverbanks, but always from the safety of solid ground. This image became dogma, not because of overwhelming evidence, but because the evidence was gone. The missing skeleton meant there was no way to challenge the established view. Biomechanical logic of the mid-20th century took over. A 7-ton animal, it was reasoned, would be far too heavy to swim. The proportions drawn from other theropods, massive bodies and powerful legs, were forced onto Spinosaurus, even as its own anatomy remained a mystery. Paleontologists argued that such bulk would make the animal dangerously buoyant and at risk of tipping over in deep water. The sail, tall and fragile, seemed more suited to catching sunlight than slicing through a current. Consensus hardened around the idea that Spinosaurus was a clumsy walker, awkward perhaps, but bound to land. The absence of real bones made this image unassailable. For generations, the world's largest predator was locked in a narrative written by missing fossils, and any challenge to that story was dismissed as fantasy. In the searing heat of the Moroccan desert, fortunes and fossils change hands in the shadows. Here, the Kem beds have become a gold rush for ancient bones, with local dealers and fossil hunters risking everything to unearth prehistoric giants. The journey from quarry to museum is rarely straightforward. Fossils often disappear into a tangled web of backroom deals, secretive buyers, and hasty border crossings. The most famous Spinosaurus bones, catalogued as FSAC KK188, first surfaced not in a scientific dig but in the hands of Moroccan traders, their origins obscured by layers of secrecy and shifting stories. Nizar Ibrahim, a young paleontologist with a reputation for persistence, tracked rumours across the Sahara, following a trail of fragments and faded photographs. His search led him through bustling markets in Erfoud, where tables overflowed with teeth and vertebrae, and every dealer guarded their sources. Moroccan fossil law, tightened in 2018, now treats these relics as national heritage. But for years, enforcement was patchy. Bones left the country under the radar, bound for private collections or foreign museums, their scientific value eroded by lost context. The stakes are high. Without clear provenance, every new Spinosaurus find invites skepticism. Was this skeleton truly from a single animal, or a composite assembled for profit? Was it dug from the right layer, or mixed with bones from other sites? These questions shadow every announcement, fueling debate among scientists and igniting arguments over legality and ethics. The evidence exists, but its journey is murky. This is a river monster born not just from the ancient Cretaceous, but from a modern marketplace where truth is as slippery as the fossils themselves. The skeleton that surfaced from the Chem beds was an anatomical riddle. Spinosaurus did not fit the script written for other giant predators. Its hind legs, once expected to be thick and powerful, were shrunken, barely half the length of its massive arms. The femur measured just over a metre, a size that would look small even on a much lighter animal. The feet were broad and flattened, with long paddle-like toes splayed outward. Instead of claws built for gripping earth, the bone suggested something more at home, pressing against mud or slicing through water. Above the spine, a row of neural arches soared skyward, forming a sail that reached nearly 7 feet at its tallest point. This sail was not a solid plate, but a lattice of elongated spines, each one delicate yet towering like the masts of a ship. No other predator carried such a structure. The function was debated, some called it a display, others a stabilizer, but its sheer size was undeniable. The skull told its own story. Long and narrow, it stretched out like the jaws of a modern gharial, lined with conical teeth that interlocked in a perfect trap for slippery prey. The snout flared at the tip, housing pressure-sensitive pits, a trait seen in crocodilians that hunt by feel in murky water. This was not the broad bone-crushing head of a Tyrannosaurus rex. Every measurement, every proportion defied the rules set by land predators. Spinosaurus was built for an environment that demanded different strengths, a body plan that looked almost alien among the giants of its age. In 2014, the world of paleontology erupted over a single radical idea. Spinosaurus was not built for land, but for water. Arguments broke out at conferences and in journals as digital models showed a dinosaur with a centre of mass so far forward it might have walked on all fours. Critics scoffed, calling the aquatic Spinosaurus a fantasy. But then a discovery in Morocco changed everything. Buried in the Chem beds was a nearly complete tail, unlike anything seen in a land predator. Instead of a thin, whip-like structure, this tail was tall, flexible, and flattened side to side, forming a massive paddle. For the first time, there was physical proof of an underwater engine, perfectly designed for powerful thrust. The debate stalled in its tracks, the anatomy spoke for itself. Spinosaurus was not just a swimmer, but a river monster built to rule deep currents. In a sterile lab, thin slices of Spinosaurus bone are placed under the microscope. Instead of hollow chambers, the cross-sections reveal dense, tightly packed tissue, pachyosteosclerosis, the same adaptation seen in penguins and manatees. This density acts as natural ballast, letting a 7-ton predator sink beneath the surface and stalk its prey in silence. On land, Tyrannosaurus reigned with bone-crushing jaws and a towering frame, but in the river systems of ancient Africa, Spinosaurus claimed a separate kingdom. The Chem beds tell the story. Fossilized scales of 20-foot lungfish, scattered sawfish rostra, and the bite marks of a predator built for water. In this world, apex status belonged to the animal that could disappear into the depths. Every new Spinosaurus fossil redraws the boundaries of what we think is possible. As paleontology evolves, our so-called monsters become reminders. The unknown still lurks beneath our assumptions. The next impossible discovery may already be buried in the dust. What would you bet is hiding in the dirt?